The year was 2003. Afghanistan, a land of ancient mountains and resilient people, was at the heart of change. The dust of initial conflict had settled, but peace was fragile. A new kind of war was taking shape. It was a war fought in shadows, a war of patience, a war of nerve. The soldiers sent there knew this. They understood their mission was vital. They were holding a line against an enemy determined to reclaim what they had lost. This was not a land of grand armies clashing in open fields. It was a place of hidden trails and watchful eyes. The provinces of Kunar and Nuristan were particularly challenging. Geography itself was an enemy, or a powerful ally. Steep mountainsides, narrow passes, and deep ravines offered perfect cover. For centuries, these lands had resisted outsiders. Now, they were becoming a sanctuary for those who wished to continue the fight. Operation Mountain Viper was born from this necessity. After the fall of the Taliban regime in late 2001, there was a moment of hope. Many believed the fight was largely over. Major cities were liberated. A new government began to take shape. For a time, it seemed as though Afghanistan might finally find peace. But wars are rarely so simple. The enemy had been scattered, not entirely broken. They were waiting, watching, learning from their defeat. By mid-2003, the signs were undeniable. The Taliban were regrouping. Reports of attacks started to increase. Small patrols were ambushed. Aid workers were targeted. Local officials faced threats and violence. It was a campaign of fear, designed to show that the Taliban were still a force to be reckoned with. This resurgence was not a full-scale invasion, but a guerrilla war. The concern among military planners grew with each passing month. Their tactics were well suited to the Afghan environment. They knew the mountains, the caves, the hidden paths. The decision to launch Operation Mountain Viper was not made lightly. It came from the highest levels of command. They saw the intelligence. They understood the growing danger. The primary objective was clear disrupt the Taliban and anti-coalition militia networks. This meant finding them, engaging them, and denying them the freedom to operate. A significant force was assembled for this task. American soldiers, many from the 10th Mountain Division, would form the core. Alongside them, crucially, would be soldiers of the Afghan National Army. This partnership was vital. It showed the Afghan people that their own forces were involved in securing their country. The strategy developed was multifaceted. It would involve air assaults, using helicopters to insert troops into remote areas. Once on the ground, the soldiers would conduct search and destroy missions. The plan was aggressive, aiming to keep the enemy off balance. Operation Mountain Viper commenced in late August 2003. The initial movements were often made under the cover of darkness. Helicopters ferried soldiers deep into hostile territory. The air was thick with anticipation. They carried with them the weight of their mission. The terrain was unforgiving. The mountains of Afghanistan are some of the most formidable in the world. Soldiers found themselves climbing steep rocky slopes. Altitudes soared, making breathing difficult. The valleys were narrow, creating natural kill zones for ambushes. Movement was slow, arduous, and dangerous. Every ridge gained, every valley crossed was a small victory. The land tested their physical endurance and mental fortitude. Weather added another layer of hardship. In the late summer, the days could be scorching hot, yet at higher altitudes, temperatures could plummet. Sudden storms could sweep through the mountains. The environment was an active participant in this conflict. The complexities of joint operations were another significant challenge. It wasn't long before the first shots were fired. Contact with the enemy often came suddenly. An ambush from a high ridge, a burst of machine gun fire from a hidden cave. These were sharp, vicious firefights. The soldiers had to be constantly alert. Every rock, every shadow could conceal a threat. The enemy fought with tenacity. They used hit-and-run tactics. In these intense moments, air support was a lifeline. The sound of A-10 Warthogs or Apache helicopters brought immense relief. Close air support could break up enemy attacks. This teamwork saved countless lives. Operation Mountain Viper achieved its immediate objectives. Enemy fighters were killed or captured. Their command and control networks were disrupted. The pressure applied forced many to abandon their sanctuaries. For the soldiers, seeing the impact of their efforts was important. It validated their sacrifices. They had struck a blow in the enemy's heartland. But these gains came at a cost. Coalition forces suffered casualties. Brave men were wounded. Some made the ultimate sacrifice. Each loss was deeply felt. Beyond the human cost, the operation yielded tangible results. Significant caches of weapons and explosives were destroyed. Documents and intelligence materials were recovered. Operation Mountain Viper may not be as widely remembered as some larger offensives. It was one of many such operations in the early years of the war. Yet, its significance should not be understated. It was a critical early test of coalition resolve. The operation provided invaluable lessons in counterinsurgency warfare. It highlighted the immense challenges of fighting a determined enemy in extreme terrain. It underscored the importance of accurate, timely intelligence. It demonstrated the critical role of air power. Crucially, it emphasized the necessity of working closely with Afghan security forces. These were lessons carved in stone, paid for with sweat and blood. Mountain Viper also offered a glimpse into the evolving nature of the enemy. It showed that the Taliban were capable of regrouping and adapting. The operation was an early chapter in a long, arduous campaign. Ultimately, the legacy of Operation Mountain Viper rests with the men who fought there. Their courage and resilience in the face of adversity is what endures.